Meantime, today is the day. Alec Baldwin headed to court in just a few hours, facing 18 months in jail for involuntary manslaughter. Baldwin charged after accidentally shooting cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of his movie Rust. Meantime, a judge ruling that Baldwin's role as a producer for the film will not be relevant in this case, hurting the prosecution's efforts to put Baldwin behind bars. Criminal defense attorney Lexie Rigden joins me now. Lexie, great to see you as always. And let's actually start at the end. I mentioned 18 months behind bars. Do you think Alec Baldwin could actually face time in jail if he's ultimately convicted?
If convicted, yes. But, you know, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who was the armorer, she got the maximum. She got 18 months in prison, and that was her actual job. And she was the one who allegedly brought the live rounds onto set. So I think her culpability is a little bit different. So my prediction would be that if he is convicted, I don't think he faces the maximum amount of time, because I think that it's just his role in what happened in this set. I understand he was the one who allegedly pulled the trigger, but his job was not as the armorer or to guarantee the safety of the gun. And especially with the evidence that can't come in against him as a producer, which is huge for the defense, my prediction would be he would not get that amount of time if convicted.
So what does the prosecution need to establish in order to prove involuntary manslaughter, especially in light of the fact of yesterday's ruling that Baldwin's role as a producer can no longer come in?
They're going to have to establish that he was basically reckless in pointing the gun and shooting the gun. Now, there's a big dispute over whether he shot the gun or not, because his defense has long been that the gun malfunctioned and he didn't actually shoot it. But the prosecution is going to have to prove to the jury beyond a reasonable doubt that he was reckless in doing so. And I think it would have been easier to do so if they had kind of theories of liability here, which is not only was he reckless in shooting the gun and allegedly pulling the trigger, but even if you don't believe that, he was reckless in the fact that he was a producer overseeing a sloppy production where safety protocols weren't followed. But now that they can't do that, then really the attention has to be on whether it was reckless as a person in his position who was told that he was given a gun that was safe, whether it was reckless to actually fire it. And I'm not sure that, you know, the armor situation is a little different because that was her entire job. But, you know, I'm not sure here about whether he's actually going to be convicted. I think that there are some serious issues with the prosecution's case here. And potentially, if he weren't a celebrity and this weren't such a high-profile case, I mean, there's no dispute that this was an accident. There's no dispute that this was not done intentionally by him. So I think, you know, reasonable minds could differ as to whether we should even be here at this point prosecuting him.
Well, let's poke some holes in the case. You are a criminal defense attorney. If you were on Baldwin's team, how would you poke holes in the prosecution's case?
Well, I would say, hey, the person that was actually responsible for this, she's in prison right now. Her name is Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. She had one job. She didn't do it correctly. She was careless. She brought live rounds onto the set. She was kind of, you know, partying and negligent in the way that she handled herself just on the set in general. And that's the person who should be culpable, not the person who was handed a gun and said that the gun was, quote unquote, cold, which is, I guess, actors lingo for not being loaded or not having a projectile that could hurt anybody. You know, I just did my job as an actor here, and especially with the fact that they're not able to bring up any issues about his role of overseeing people. I think that those are strong points for the defense.
And now we wait as they try and seat a jury with a guy who's pretty famous. Alec Baldwin has been around on your screen for about 35 years. Everybody knows him. It'll be curious to see how they ultimately seat that jury and who makes up that jury. Lexie Rigden, we appreciate your time and your insight as this case kicks off. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.